When my sister Sarah moved to a quiet town in Ohio, she thought it was the beginning of her dream. She was only 22, eager to start college, to live on her own, to finally have independence after years of being under our parents' watch. She rented a one-bedroom apartment in an old, 3-story brick building that stood at the edge of town. The building had history written all over its cracked walls and rusted fire escapes. The hallways smelled faintly of mold. The lights flickered constantly, and the wooden stairs creaked under every step. But the rent was cheap, and for a student with little money, it was perfect. For the first 2 weeks, she settled into a routine. Wake up, go to class, study late into the night, and call me before going to bed. She sounded happy, though sometimes she joked about how creepy the building felt, especially at night when she was alone. But then things changed. It started with the footsteps. One night, Sarah was lying in bed when she heard slow, deliberate steps moving across her living room floor. She froze. Her apartment was small and she lived alone. At first, she thought maybe a neighbor upstairs was walking around, but the sound was too close. It echoed right above her ceiling, then across the floorboards of her own apartment. She sat up, holding her breath, listening. The footsteps stopped. Gathering courage, she tiptoed to the living room, but it was empty. The next night, the same thing happened. This time, the footsteps circled her bed. After a week of restless nights, Sarah brushed it off as stress or lack of sleep. But the noises grew louder, stranger. Sometimes she heard heavy breathing near her ear while she was trying to fall asleep. Sometimes the sound of something dragging across the wooden floor woke her in the middle of the night. Then she saw it. It was a Tuesday morning. Sarah was getting ready for class, brushing her hair in front of the mirror. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed movement behind her. When she looked directly into the mirror, she saw the reflection of someone standing just over her shoulder, a tall, dark figure. She spun around. The room was empty. But when she looked back, her reflection was trembling, even though she was standing perfectly still. She called me right after. Her voice was shaky, nervous. I laughed it off, told her it was just stress. She tried to laugh with me, but deep down, I could hear the fear in her tone. Over the next few days, things escalated. Sarah began hearing whispers. They always came at 3 in the morning. Sometimes it was her name. Sometimes it was indecipherable words, like someone speaking in a language she couldn't understand. Sarah. The voice was always right next to her ear, but when she turned, no one was there. Her friends noticed the change too. Sarah became withdrawn, distracted. She would sit in class staring into nothing, barely responding when spoken to. Her once bright and lively eyes grew tired, surrounded by dark circles. Some of her friends even whispered that her eyes seemed different, almost glowing faintly in the dark. One friend told her she smelled like damp soil, like something buried underground. Sarah began staying home more often. That was when the dreams started. She dreamt of a man in black robes, faceless, standing at the foot of her bed. Sometimes he sat on her chest, pressing down so hard she couldn't breathe. Other times, he stood in the corner of her room, whispering, 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 until she woke up screaming. One night, the dream became too real. She woke to the same crushing weight on her chest. She opened her eyes and saw it, the faceless figure leaning over her, its shadowy hands pressing her into the bed. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Just as she thought she would pass out, the figure whispered directly into her ear, "You are not safe here." When she finally regained control of her body, she ran into the bathroom and locked the door. She sat there until dawn, shaking. I started researching the building online. What I found chilled me to the bone. The building had once been a hospice for the dying. During the 1940s and 50s, dozens of patients had taken their final breaths inside those rooms. Some said the staff was cruel. that patients were neglected and left to die alone. Locals claimed the building was cursed, that the spirits of the dead had never left. Many tenants had broken their leases early. They complained of strange noises, shadows in mirrors, cold spots that followed them from room to room. When I told Sarah, she whispered, "That explains everything." I begged her to leave, to move out immediately, but she said she couldn't. Her classes were in full swing, money was tight, and breaking the lease would cost her more than she could afford. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a stormy Thursday. I was just about to sleep when my phone rang. It was Sarah, video calling me. When I answered, her face filled the screen. She was pale, her hair messy, her eyes wide with terror. "They're back," she whispered. The camera shook as she turned it toward her living room. The lights flickered violently. The door slammed shut on its own. The window rattled. Across the glass, pale handprints appeared, smudged, unnatural, moving as though someone invisible was pressing against it from the outside. In the corner of the room, a shadow moved, slowly, deliberately. I shouted at her, "Get out! Sarah, get out now!" She tried to run to the door, but it wouldn't open. She screamed as the lights went out. For a few seconds, the screen went black. Then the camera caught something else. Muddy footprints forming across her floor, step by step, coming closer to her. Sarah dropped the phone. I saw only the ceiling, heard her desperate sobs, then a guttural, inhuman growl, and then silence. I panicked. I called the police. They rushed to her apartment and found her lying unconscious on the floor. The door had been locked from the inside. No one else was there, but outside the 5th floor window. The officers found something that still haunts me. Muddy footprints pressed against the glass. From the outside, Sarah survived, but she was never the same. She refuses to talk about what happened that night. She wakes in the middle of the night, screaming, convinced that someone is whispering her name. She refuses to sleep with the lights off. Even now, years later, she avoids mirrors. She says sometimes, when she catches her reflection by accident, it smiles at her when she isn't smiling. I know what I saw on that video call. I know what she lived through. That building is evil. Something still lingers there, feeding on fear, on loneliness. It waits for new tenants, new victims, new lives to ruin. And I know deep down that one night it will come back for her, because shadows don't fade. They follow, they wait, and sometimes they return.